today I'm going to show you how to make a necklace to match the bracelet and earrings we made in the last two tutorials. So this is what the necklace looks like. I've made kind of a little rope back for it and just some units connected together just like the bracelet, except for I did an embellishment on top. It kind of has a little bit of a ruffly effect. I was going to do an embellishment on the bottom, but it just didn't work out. So this is what it looks like. Let's go ahead and look at what we'll need to make this project. Okay, so today for this project, we are going to use 15-0 seed beads and 11-0 seed beads. Both of mine are Toho galvanized aluminum silver tone. And then we will need 2 colors of 4mm bicone crystals. And then I'm going to use a large lobster claw clasp and 2 wire protectors and some chain. I will cut my length of chain. This is rather long, but I will cut it to be an extender for my necklace. You will also need a size 10 or 12 beading needle and some 6 or 8 pound fireline. Okay, for this project, I'm going to refer you back to the earring or the bracelet tutorial to learn the round portion of the component here, because I have done that twice and it's about 20 minutes of footage, so I want to keep this a little shorter. I normally would add the component to each video that I make, but it's going to be a review for a lot of you, and like I said, I'd like to keep things a little shorter here. So what you're going to do is you're going to make 8 components, just the round portion, from either the earring or the bracelet tutorial, and then you're going to come back. You will make 1 component with a very long length of thread. You want to start with maybe 2 wingspans for your first component and then set it aside. So that everything's secure, and then set it aside and then make 7 more components. So you're going to have 8 in total, and you'll make 7 that you tie off. So you'll sew through your component, knot it a couple times, tie off, cut off the tail, and then melt it down. Cut off the tail and the working thread, excuse me. And then you will have your 7 components like so, and then your 1 component with your long thread. And from that point, we will get started joining them together. So I've laid my components out. They're not in a perfect little half circle here, but I've just laid them out so that each of my crosses is laying the direction I want them to in the center of my component. And then I am exiting from, just to kind of give me reference, and I'll lay them out and look at them as I join each one. Now, I'm coming out of a crystal in my first unit that I made with my long thread, and I'm coming out of one of the crystals that's just next to one of the seed bead portions. So your cross is laying like this. I'm coming out of the crystal on the end of one of the little cross legs here. And then I am going to get my next component and make sure that I find a crystal that's on the same little leg of the cross from my previous component, so that my components lay the same direction basically. Now, in my bracelet and my earrings, I made my center components that attach to each one all in the darker blue color. Now, I'd like it to match, so I'm probably going to do that. However, I have more of my lighter crystals left. But I think I'm going to go ahead and stick with what I did before. So I'm going to pick up, I'm coming out of this crystal here. Let's get a little closer. I'm going to move these out of the way just for the sake of the video here. And I'm going to pick up an 11-0 onto my needle and a bicone crystal and an 11-0, just like this. I'm coming out of this little crystal here. I'm going to go into the bottom of the next crystal on the same side and pull these 2 beads up, just like this, just like we joined them in the bracelet. We're going to do the exact same thing for the center portion of our necklace. So then you'll pick up another 11-0, a crystal, and an 11-0, like so, and you're going to come into the component on the opposite, or the previous component, the crystal, if I can get to it here. There we go. And pull these down, just like so. Then we will sew through this entire joint here just to make it more secure. Trying to avoid the 11 O's that are on the components themselves. Just go through the 11 O's that we just added and sew through the entire thing. When you get to the crystal you started in, go through it and then go through the next seed bead. One of the seed beads you just added, so make sure you don't go through these on the components, go through this one here. Whoops, I hope I was in frame. Okay, so right here. And then we're going to start making our knitted portions over these beads just like we did in the bracelet. So we're going to pick up two 15-0 seed beads, an 11-0 seed bead, and two 15-0 seed beads. Then we're coming out of this little 11-0, we're going to skip over the crystal and go into the next 11-0 seed bead right here and pull. Then we will pick up two 15-0 seed beads, an 11-0 seed bead, and two 15-0 seed beads. And we will cross over this crystal, go into the next 11-0. And do the same thing again, two 15-0s, an 11-0, and two 15-0s. And we will go into the next 11-0 on our joint here. And then one more time, pick up two 15-0s, an 11-0, and two 15-0s. And skip over this crystal, go into the 11-0 we started in and the two 15-0s behind it, like so, and pull. Now if you need more detailed instruction, go to the bracelet, because I'm just going to show you this once and then we will join all of them together this way. So I'm coming out of this 11-0 on top. So I went through the two 15-0s and then I went through the 11-0 on the first little portion of knitting that we made. Now I'm to the top peak of this 11-0, or this little portion of knitting, and I'm going to go into all the top 11-0s on the peaks of each portion of knitting we made on top of each crystal, and I'm going to pull them together. So I'm going to go back into the original one I started in. I'm going to join them together like so. Then I'm going to sew back through them again to make sure that they're nice and secure. And then when I get back to the bead I started in, and everything is pulled together nice and tight. Sometimes you have to arrange your beads once you do it too, because they like to fall underneath the crystals. Then we are going to sew up through the little 15-0 seed beads right here. I'm coming out of this 11-0. We're going to sew through the 15-0s right next to it in the netted portion here, like so. And then we're going to go down into the connecting bicone crystal here. And now we are going to sew all the way around until we can get to our next bicone that's in line with the little legs of our cross here. So just the very most opposite bead from the one you're exiting from here. So we're going to go down into these 11-0s, and we're just going to sew all the way around the outside of the component until we get to that crystal that we want to start our next connection in. Okay, so I'm here. I'm going to exit just like this, and I'm going to start my next component by picking up an 11-0, or not my component, but my joint. I'm going to grab another component. I'm going to pick up an 11-0, a bicone, and an 11-0. And I'm coming out of this one. I'm going to make sure that my new component is laying the way I want it to, so it lays the same way the previous components are laying. I'm going to pick up my component. I'm going to go from this bead here into the same bead on my new component, pull them together, and then pick up an 11-0, a bicone, and an 11-0. And I'm going to go into the bead that I started in on the opposite side of the previous component and pull it together. Now I'm going to sew around this, put my netting on, sew up through the unit until the next crystal, and continue until I have all of my components joined, and then we will be back. Okay, so I have joined all 8 of my components, and now I'm coming out of the crystal on the very bottom where I would be coming out if I was going to put on another component from my very last one here that I joined. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up onto my needle 3 bicone crystals and 4 11-0 seed beads, starting and ending with the seed bead, alternating them between the crystals. And I'm just going to make one more unit of little right angle weave unit type thing like this with the embellishment on top, so that I can start to make the back end of my necklace. So I'm coming out of this little crystal right here. I'm going to go into the opposite side with the beads I put on my needle here and pull it down into a unit, just like so. And we're going to sew around this unit again, put the netting on top exactly how we've been doing this, and we will be back to continue with the rest of the back end of the necklace. Okay, so I have put my netting over the top of my last little connection unit here that I've made, and after joining the 11-0s on top, I sewed down the 15-0s and then threw the bicone crystal on the very end here, and I'm exiting right here. Now I'm going to start to make the back of my necklace. I'm going to pick up 7 11-0 seed beads. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, blew away 6, 7. So I have 7 onto my needle like this. I'm coming out of the crystal here. I'm going to go into the opposite side of the crystal and pull it through. Now I'm going to sew up through the first 4 seed beads that I'm right next to. So I'm coming out of the crystal here. I'm going to go up into the first 4 11-0s, and I'm going to exit the 4th 11-0. I'm going to pull this all together so it's nice and neat like this, and then I'm going to pick up 7 more seed beads. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I know it's no fun listening to me count, but if I don't count, I will do it wrong. So put 7 more onto your needle here. And you're coming out of this little 4th 11-0 seed bead. You're going to go into the opposite side of the 4th 11-0 seed bead and pull your beads through. Arrange them nicely like so. And now we are going to go up through the first 4 seed beads again. So we're exiting this 11-0 here. We're going to sew up through the first 4 and exit the 4th like so, and then pull and tighten everything up and make it nice and neat. And we're going to do that again. We're going to pick up 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And this is what I have. I'm coming out of this little 4th 11-0 seed bead. I'm going to go into the opposite side, and I'm going to pull them down. Then I am going to go up the first 4 11-0 seed beads right next to where my needle is and exit the 4th one. Whoops, I can't get 4. So I'm going to go up 3, then I'm going to pick up my 4th one, like so, and I'm going to continue doing this for 20 times. So you're going to count the very first one where you're coming out of the crystal all the way up until you have 20 little tiny loops here. And then you will be exiting the fourth seed bead in your last loop. We are going to now add a wire protector at the end here. we're going to have to throw a couple jump rings into the mix too, because I was going to just put my clasping onto the wire protector and not have to use a jump ring. However, I have discovered that that does not lay correctly. So what we're going to do is we're going to just put our wire protector on the end here and then move down and finish our necklace, and then we'll come back and add our clasping and our extender on the other side with jump rings. So I'm going to pick up a 15-0 seed bead. I'm coming out of this 11-0 here. I'm going to pick up a wire protector, and I'm going to go through one side of the wire protector just like this. And then I'm going to grab a hold of it. I'm going to position it where I want it on my necklace here. And then I am going to go through the other side like so. I'm going to hold on to it, squeeze it as I pull my thread through, and guide my thread into the divot on top of the wire protector. And then I am going to pick up another 15-0 seed bead like this. And I'm going to go through the opposite side of the 11-0 that I started from. And I'm going to pull my wire protector down and arrange it. And now I'm going to go back up through the first 15-0. Now here you could get your a lot of slack and get your thread kind of messed up here, so be careful. Just come back up through this 15-0. Come back up through the first loop of the wire protector. Go down through the second loop in the 15-0 underneath the other side of the wire protector. Squeeze the wire protector and guide your thread in. And then go back through the 11-0 that we started in our 20th unit here. Okay, so we're like coming out of the little 11-0 after securing our little wire guardian here. So what we're going to do now is we're going to do an embellishment on the 20 loops that we've made. Because this is so skinny, it's going to flip around, so I'm going to embellish both sides. Now, you can try just embellishing one side to save on crystal, or if you don't think the crystal will feel good against the skin, you can embellish it with something round, whatever you want to do. But my color scheming and the stuff that I started with, I would like to stay with. So I am going to go ahead and use my aqua colored 11 or 4mm bicone crystal for this, because I have more of them than I do of the Montana blue. And I'm hoping that I'll have enough for all of my embellishments. But let's go ahead, and as you can tell, I'm designing this as I do this. So we're going to pick up a 15-0 and a 4mm bicone crystal and a 15-0. We're coming out of this 11-0 seed bead right here. We're coming out of this side of this 11-0. Let's get real close so you can see what I'm talking about. We're coming out of this 11-0. We're coming out of this side. We are going to work into our connecting 11-0 on each one of our units. So the fourth bead that we came through to make each unit is the bead we will be working through on each unit as we do this. So we're exiting here. We're going to go into the opposite side of the connecting 11-0, and we're going to pull this 15-0 4mm bicone 15-0 down on top. And then we're just going to flip it over, and we're going to pick up a 15-0, a 4mm bicone crystal, and a 15-0, and we're coming out of this side of the 11-0 here. We're going to go into the top 11-0 we started in on the opposite side from which we're exiting from this bead. So we're going to go in here. Right here, and pull it through. Now we're coming out of this little 11-0. We're going to sew down these 3 beads on the side, the 11-0s on the side here, and then pull through, and we're going to go through the connecting 11-0 again. Now, you can get your slack really bad, or get slack really bad doing this. So we're going to pull this very tight each time we make one of these to make sure that we're not loose on either side. I hope I was in frame. Now we're going to do the same thing here. We're coming out of this side of an 11-0, a connecting 11-0, so we're going to pick up a 15-0, a 4mm bicone, and a 15-0. We're coming out of this side of the little 11-0. We're going to go into the opposite side of the 11-0. We're exiting from here and pull. And then we're going to turn this over. And we're going to pick up an 15-0, a 4mm bicone crystal, and a 15-0. And we're going to go up through the opposite side of the 11-0 here. So we're coming out of this side, we're going to go into this side here. This is going to make this look like a little spiral, even though it's not. And pull it down. Then we're going to sew down these 3 beads here, the 11-0s right here, and go into our next 11-0 connecting bead. Now really watch your tension, but see, this is going to look like a little spiral. And that's really kind of pretty, I think. So I would like to have that. That way, too, if it spins on the neck, it will be okay because it won't matter which side is showing. So we'll pick up a 15-0 seed bead, and then a 4mm bicone, and then a 15-0 seed bead. We're coming out of this side. We're going to go into the opposite side and pull. We're going to turn it over and do the same thing again. Pick up a 15-0, oh boy, let me back off. Pick up a 15-0 seed bead and a 4mm bicone crystal and a 15-0 seed bead, and we're coming out of this 11-0, we're going to go into the opposite 11-0 and pull our crystal down, travel through the 3 11-0s here, and then through the 11-0 on the bottom. And that's what this looks like. And we're going to continue doing that until we get all the way to the very bottom of our rope. You don't want to do it in the very last one, or the very first one we did actually. Just stop here and we'll be back. Okay, so I have finished my entire rope with my crystals. Now the one thing is that this makes a whole lot more crystals for my design, so I may have to pull back on some of my embellishments on the bottom. I may just embellish the inside to pull it into a circle. But anyway, regardless of that fact, this is what this looks like. It turned out really pretty. I really like this, the way I put these on here, and have a few ideas of what I can use this in, so that's a good thing. Anyway, I'm coming out of, let's get close. I'm coming out of this 11-0 seed bead down here after putting my last crystal on. Now, I want to get to the inside of my necklace to embellish, and since this part is the inside, and I'm coming out of this side, even if I sewed down and over all the way around my thread path, I'd end up on the outside. So what I have to do is I have to put a little half-hitch knot right here. I'm going to find the thread bridge right between these little 11-0s right here. Get close. Right here. Make sure my embellishment is tight, and I'm going to tie a little knot right here. My thread back up there. And pull it down, just a tiny little knot between these beads. Now I can go back into the 11-0 that I was exiting from. Let's back off because I'm just not going to stay in frame. All right, now that I have this little half-hitch knot here, I can go back into the 11-0 seed bead that I was exiting from and go the opposite direction. So now I can sew into these 11-0s here. Sew through all 3 of them and pull my thread through. And then I will sew down into this bicone crystal right here that I'm connected to. Then I can sew through the 11-0 right here on my little connecting unit and through the crystal next to it. And then I can go through the next 11-0 and the next main crystal on the bottom of our little connecting unit here. So I'm going through there. And then I can go into these 11-0s, and I'm going to go through the first crystal and the 11-0s after them here. And then I'm going to go into this crystal right on top of my component. So you'll go through two 11-0s, a crystal, and two 11-0s, and another crystal. So you'll be exiting the second crystal on your component here. So this is the one we connected to. This is our first crystal, this is our second. That's where we're going to start our embellishments. Now, like I said, I'm running low on crystals, so I'm going to try to figure out how to do this without using a ton of crystal and still get a pretty look. So I'm going to start with, let's see, maybe I want to exit. No, this is fine. I'm going to start with a 15-0 seed bead and then an 11-0 seed bead. Actually, I think I'll put 4 11-0 seed beads. So I have a 15-0 and then 4 11-0s. And then I'm going to use a bicone crystal, and I'm going to go back to my main color. I think I'll alternate colors. I'm not sure how I'm going to do it, to tell you the truth. But I'm going to do the Montana blue, and then I'm going to pick up 4 more 11-0 seed beads, and then a 15-0 seed bead, like this. And I am going to go into the next crystal on the next unit in the same spot. So we'll go into this very topmost crystal on the next component. And see if that pulls it together some. Yeah, that does. Just like that. And then we are going to do that again. So pick up a 15-0 and 4 11-0s. A bicone crystal and 4 11-0s and a 15-0. And we'll slide over to the next topmost crystal here. It'll be obvious on your necklace as you're making it which ones to go into. And then we're going to pick up a 15-0, 4 11-0s, a bicone crystal, and 4 11-0s, and a 15-0. And we're going to go from this crystal to this crystal right here. And we're going to continue doing this till we get all the way to the end of our 8 components. Just like that. And when you have finished that, we'll be back. Okay, so I have finished my inside embellishment. I'm now coming out of this crystal right here after finishing my last embellishment. So I'm going to sew up into the crystals, the 11-0s in the crystals, until I get to the top crystal, so that I can add my one little extender unit like we did on this side. So this one little unit here, we're going to add on this side now. And we're going to do that, of course, by picking up an 11-0, a bicone crystal, an 11-0, a bicone, 11-0, a bicone, and an 11-0. So you will have 4 11-0s and 3 bicones, just like this. Back off. And I am coming out of this side of the bicone crystal, I'm going to go into the opposite side and pull this down. And then I will reinforce this unit by sewing around it entirely. And then we will put our netting on top and exit out of the top crystal, and we will begin doing the back part of the necklace again. So I am all the way around. I'm going to exit this 11-0 seed bead, and I'm going to begin with my 2 15-0s, 11-0, 2 15-0s, and start my netting process. I will join the netting on top and then sew down the 2 15-0 seed beads by the last bead I exit on this side, and then we will come back. Okay, so I have made my last unit and put my netting on top, and then I sewed down from my last 11-0 seed beads into the 15-0s and then into the bicone crystal. And we were going to begin again with 7 11-0s on our needle. And we're coming out of this side, we're going to go into the opposite side and pull them down. And then we will sew up the first 4 11-0 seed beads that we just put on. I only got 3, so I will go through the 4th here. And then we will pick up 7 more 11-0 seed beads and begin making our 20 units like we did on the other side. So let me get 7 of them on here. So I'm coming out of this side of this 11-0 here. I'm going to go into the opposite side of it, and then I will sew up 4 11-0 seed beads right outside of where I'm exiting here. And once you have gone through the 4th, pull them down, make sure your tension is good, and begin again, making 20 loops with your 7 seed beads going through the 4th one, and then adding your next unit. When you have 20 of those done, including the loop around the crystal here, we'll be back. Okay, so I have finished my 20 loops on this side. So now I'm coming out of this little 11-0 seed bead after coming up my 4th bead in my last unit here. So I'm going to get a little closer here, and we're going to put on the wire protector on this end so that it's ready for clasping, and then we will begin our crystal rope down back to the main body of the necklace. So what we're going to do is we're going to pick up a 15-0 seed bead and then the wire protector, and we're going to bring these down to our work here, and we are going to, I'm going to back off just a little, then we are going to go through the wire protector on the other side and squeeze the wire protector and guide the thread down into the divot, pick up a 15-0, and then go into the 11-0 on the opposite side that we're connecting to. Just like so. Now, you're going to want to, and there's a close-up of that, now you're going to want to sew through this again, just like we did before. So, I'm going to turn this so I can see it, and I am going to go through the 15-0 and the end of the wire protector. Then I'm going to go through the other end in the 15-0 of the wire protector. I'm going to squeeze the wire protector, guide the thread down, and then go into the opposite side of the connecting bead. This one right here. So that my wire protector is now secure on my piece. Now we will begin our embellishments down this side of the necklace. So what we're going to do is we're going to pick up a 15-0 seed bead, if I can pick one up, 15-0, and then a crystal, and then a 15-0, and we're coming out of this side of this 11-0 that we connected to. We're going to go to the opposite 11-0 that we connected our previous unit to, and pull these beads down, like so. Then we're going to turn it over, and we're going to pick up a 15-0 seed bead and a crystal and a 15-0. We're coming out of this side. We're going to go into the opposite side of the connecting bead where the wire protector is, and pull them down tight. Make sure both sides are tight, there's no slack in your thread, and then sew down the 3 little 11 O's that you're right next to, right here. And after you get into your bottom bead, you can tighten this. This first one likes to be loose. Then we're going to go back into the connecting bead on the bottom here, this little 11 O right here. And we'll pull our thread through. And then we will do it again. And we'll go all the way down this entire side. We will not go into this loop here that's connected to the crystal. When we get all the way down to this one and we're exiting this 11 O here, we will be back. Okay, so I have finished my rope on this side, and I came down through the last embellishment, or the last little loop here, and down into the connecting beads. Now, I was going to do a embellishment on the bottom, but I've decided not to, because everything that I tried just doesn't look right. It's a little too much. So I'm going to leave it the way it is. It's a little ruffly, and it actually looks pretty nice on the neck. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to sew through this unit some, doing some half-hitch knots, and then sew down into maybe a component or two, half-hitch knotting, and then I'm going to cut off my thread. And then once we have done that, we'll be back. So I have tied off and knotted and cut off my thread. And now I'm going to connect some chain to my wire protectors. So I'm going to open up one of the links of my chain. I've just cut a few inches of chain. It just depends on how long you want it to be. This is a little long and a little big. I'll probably change it out into something else. But for the sake of the video, I'm going to go ahead and put this on. I've just opened my chain. I'm going to slip it onto my wire protector, and then I'm going to close the link of chain again. And then I am going to grab my jump ring and put that on, and I'm going to open it. So I just need one jump ring. We just had to add that to the mix. I'm going to slide my lobster claw clasp on. I'm going to put it on the wire protector, and I am going to close the jump ring. And these jump rings aren't very good. I may have to recut it. I really don't like these jump rings that I bought a while back. So I try to avoid them at all costs, but I probably just should buy some more. So that is how we're going to end this. I will probably go ahead and change out this chain, so in the next scene it may look a little different. But that's how you'll end your necklace. Okay, so I couldn't find a different chain, so I just shortened it and added a little crystal on the end by using a head pin and making a loop. And there's lots of videos on YouTube if you don't know how to do that. It's real simple. But anyway, this is what the finished necklace looks like. It is an 18-inch necklace, maybe a tiny bit longer. So that's why I put an extender on, so that you can have more length without having to make more units with the crystal here, since each of these ropes takes about 40 crystals. So there's 40 on this side and 40 on this side. That's quite a bit of crystal. So it's better if you can use a little extender. If you want to make them longer, of course you can, if you have a whole bunch of crystal and you just want to go ahead and do it. But I only had so many in these two colors, and after making the bracelet and the earrings, I was getting a little low. I have some left, but not much. So I didn't want to go too crazy making too much length. Plus, an 18-inch fits me just fine with a little bit to spare, so that works fine for me. But this is what the entire set looks like. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I hope you like the necklace, and there you have it. Be creative. Bye-bye.